Damaged by Police Dial 123, Chapter 228, Progression. Naruto stepped through the familiar hall of his tower with nary a sound. His spear was already in hand, and he crept cautiously. The sail he had grafted onto Sai had been set off. The only thing that could do that was blood, her blood. Stepping silently into the kitchen, he relaxed and straightened. Sai was mopping up the floor, and her panther companion was gnawing on a leg bone in the corner, her gaze lifting, and she looked surprised to see Naruto. "You got here fast," she said, wringing the bloody water into a bucket. "I flew with the wind." Naruto shrugged. "What happened?" I'm not too sure. One moment I'm making a meal, and suddenly a man's coming at me with a sword. I ducked in time, and then she pounced," Sai said, motioning to the panther. "Any ID?" Naruto frowned. "No, but..." Sai hesitated. "What?" Naruto demanded. He wore the same style of Anbu clothing as Konoha Anbu. Naruto frowned. That meant someone in Konoha had ordered Sai to be killed. It most likely meant they wanted her dead so that the wrath of the Hokage would fall on him. It gave him no clue to his enemy, though. So many people wanted him dead. Suddenly, a scream pierced the air with a wail. Naruto frowned in irritation. Sai, though, gasped and hurried over. She gently pulled the child from the sling on his back. "Who is he?" she asked, shushing the infant with a soft look. "An orphan," Naruto said dismissively. "I picked him up near Tea Country. I heard you mutter more than once about children, but I also know you are sterile. He is a gift." She shot him a look when he talked about the gift as an item, as a child as an item. Naruto could care less. He had no need to love the child. He truly was a gift for Sai. Their brief correspondence over the past while told him she was lonely. "Does he have a name?" Sai asked. Naruto shrugged as he resealed his spear. The child was a normal child except for the light blue hair. He also had a faint chakra signal. For one as young as him, it was impressive and most likely meant as a latent bloodline. "He's yours to name," Naruto said. Now that the problem has been dealt with, I must return to Kimimaro." I took off without warning. Sai turned to thank him, but he was already gone. "Naruto," Yuki greeted happily. Naruto looked the snow/princess. "I have come to talk to you about the favor you owe me." And she nodded eagerly. Their mission in Snow/Spring Country had ended in Naruto cutting down her tyrannical uncle and saving the whole country. His teammates had very little help. The mission as a whole had left much to be desired and a complete waste of his time, except for the part where the princess claimed she owed him a favor on behalf of her country. "You are starting a ninja village," he stated. "Yes," she gushed. "I finally decided we could use one as many people here can use chakra. We invited a few more sane missing nin and have started a ninja division. Not so much a village yet, not enough people, but there's a separate division of our military. They even have their own wall community just outside the capital. Would you be willing to take more people in?" "Of course. If you send them, we'll let them in immediately," she assured. Naruto smirked. "Hello again, Zabuza." "Gangu." Zabuza purred, stalking up to him like a cat stalking a bird. Naruto let him get close enough to kiss him passionately. When the kiss started to turn deeper, Naruto pulled back slightly and ran a hand down the man's chest. "I have a proposal for you," Naruto breathed, licking his lips with a small smirk, eyes smoldering beneath the bright bangs. "Tell me," Zabuza said, eyes tracing his lips. "I have a plan," Naruto said, "one that involves more than a few different groups. And you need my help with something." "I need a guide." "How?" "Boring," Zabuza sneered. "It is to your advantage," Naruto smirked. "How? Have you not been looking for a village that would take you in and not hand you over to Mist or any of the other countries you're wanted in?" "Yes." "Well then, I have the perfect place for you." "Will Haku be allowed in?" "Haku will be in his element." Naruto sipped at his tea, eyeing the pouring rain outside the tea house. The waitress nervously asked him if he'd like anything, but he sent her fleeing with a well-placed glare. Resting one elbow on the table, her propping his head up, and drew idly on a notepad. The seal on the paper surface was complicated and would be absolutely impossible for anyone not considered a seal master to understand. "This is not what your godfather wanted when he sealed the QB in you. Naruto didn't even glance up as the white-haired man sat across from him. He continued adding to the complicated seal. He also did not wish for the village he loved to turn on his only child and call him a demon. Naruto said with apathy. Another symbol here, another stroke there. Jiraiya paused, hesitant. I always thought of you as my godson, one you never protected. Naruto said, glancing at the man to see him flinch back. I had thought you to be safe. I trusted Sarutobi to look after you. The Sannin whispered. I trusted you in his care while I cut off assassination attempts from outside, and I fooled any spies looking for your existence. I loved Sarutobi, Naruto said. I trusted him with my life, but even I knew he didn't have the resources or strength to both look after the demon of the village while running it with the respect of his citizens. He made a choice, and that choice was the need of many over one. He pushed me aside to better look after his village. I shall never blame him for this because I love him too much. But you, I failed, okay? Jiraiya snapped. I could have taken you with me, hidden you away, and kept you safe. I could have left a toad and looked after you. I could have visited more often or gotten one of my spies to look after you, but I didn't. I failed. I accepted that. For a long moment, there was a defeating silence. Naruto stared at his godfather in a bored manner. And your point is? Naruto asked. My point is that I may have failed, but I may no longer be considered your godfather. But I can't let you do this, Jiraiya said, a bare whisper. This? Naruto asked. Jiraiya slammed his hands on the table, a crack webbing out. I can't let you destroy Konoha. Destroy it? Oh, I'm not going to destroy it, Naruto said. I'm going to utterly crush it. I'm going to burn it to the ground until there is nothing left. I'm going to wipe it off the map. Jiraiya was silent. I can't let you do this, he repeated. And why not? Naruto asked. Because it's my home. Your home. Don't joke, Jiraiya. You haven't stayed in the place for more than a day in 17 years. It's not your home. At most, you could call it a main base. Jiraiya pinched his lips, eyes still defiant. Naruto slid the paper over to him. Jiraiya stared down at the paper, confused, not understanding what he was looking at. You tried to stop me, Jiraiya? Naruto said loudly. This is what you will face. I don't understand what I'm looking at. Do you know how I created my own summoning contact connected to the Forest of Death? Yes, same thing, but more personal. I'm summoning some large animals. Jiraiya looked the seal over again, impelled as fast as Naruto saw him sway. You wouldn't, the man whispered, horrified. Of course not, Naruto sneered. Our souls are much too closely tied. I could never full release him, but summon his spirit in a body made of chakra like any old summon? Yes. Jiraiya closed his eyes, hands trembling slightly. Do you want to face this again, Jiraiya? Do you want to stare into its maw again? You couldn't defeat him before. You couldn't even gain his attention for more than a few seconds. Can you take him on at even a fraction of his power? Do you want to? No, Jiraiya whispered, so silent it was almost inaudible. Naruto swept the seal away. Then I suggest you don't visit on my birthday. End of chapter 29. Damaged by Police Style 123, chapter 29, Emotions. My message was received, Naruto announced out loud. Can you trust him? Kiyomaru asked softly. I have bait. Sasuke can't resist. Naruto's lips twitched, and Orochimaru will follow. So it's done. You've got it all planned? Yes, Kiyomaru frowned just slightly. Naruto raised a brow at the white-haired man. You don't agree with my plan? I shall follow you anywhere, Kiyomaru said without hesitation, and support you in anything. And yet, you seem hesitant. The man looked lost. I think I grew soft. How so? I enjoyed staying in your tower with just you. It felt like a home. Naruto looked at the man who had never truly had a home. Naruto had started considering his tower his home long ago, even if he did not think of it as part of Konohagakure. Your home is with me, Naruto said simply. Wherever we are, as long as you are with me, you are home. Kiyomaru relaxed at the words and nodded. Naruto turned to him and laid across his lap, hugging the larger man's waist. And you'll always stay with me? Naruto muttered. Always, Kiyomaru nodded, even though it wasn't a question. Naruto didn't know if he would. No, he knew he had long since started to consider Kiyomaru his. He did not think of the bone user as a friend or family, but he was his. Naruto was possessive, and he would never let the white-haired man be parted from him by anything less than death. He wondered if this was perhaps what he had felt for Sarutobi, such a deep possessiveness. Perhaps he had been so possessive of the man it had warped into what could be considered love, and perhaps he had been loyal because Sarutobi wouldn't just obey Naruto like Kiyomaru. Perhaps Sarutobi and Kiyomaru were in the same place in his mind, but Sarutobi was above him, his alpha, and whereas Kiyomaru was below him, a submissive, Naruto wondered if one day his possessiveness would dig down so deep for Kiyomaru that Naruto could call it love. He pushed that thought aside and inhaled the man's scent, relaxing in the familiarity as the rest of the world changed around him. Do you know how horrible that is for you, mortal? Naruto just flicked away from the end of his cigarette. I don't care. Of course not. QB sneered in his mind. One would think you possess none of the self-preservation instinct I gave you. Naruto frowned at the note. Self-preservation? You can pass with such stuff inside of me? What else have you done? You did not notice? QB snorted. Did you never wonder why it was so hard for you to trust anyone, to like anyone more than just possessiveness? Konoha, the attack? QB snorted. Yes, they did make you quite paranoid and untrusting, but I added to that, I couldn't have you getting too close to someone, liking them enough to risk yourself, so I took away some of your more human emotions. Naruto contemplated this. It brought a deep, marring brown frown to his face. That meant, if he thought correct, that his emotionless anger had been QB's fault. Not all of it, the beast answered. It is all of your own making. I just enhanced it. Naruto thought on this again. He didn't know if he should hate the QB or thank him for this world-tilting revelation. To think, if the QB had not interfered, could he have perhaps grown to like Konoha, like his team, his wife? After another moment, he decided no, he would never have loved Konoha, not even in another world. No, nowhere could he have ever given them anything after what they had put him through. Even if he hadn't lost his eye, he would have seen the cruelty, the hate before he started to love them so. His team, perhaps in a world where he had been weaker, where he could have actually been a part of the team, he would have tolerated them better. And his wife, maybe. He doubted it. He decided he would thank the QB if he had kept all of his more human emotions. He would regret many more things, would have hesitated so much more. This was a gift. It helped him keep going when he felt as if sanity was glass, if sanity was glass, sand cutting through his hand to float away. He blew out a cloud of smoke and watched it drift away. Tsunade-sama, Naruto. They stared at one another for a long moment in the silence. Finally, Tsunade sighed and unclasped her hands and stared at Naruto with her large honey eyes. Jiraiya came by a week or so ago. Any news on Akatsuki? Naruto asked lightly, a slight smirk dancing across his lips. She stared at him with an emotion he actually identified. It reminded him of resignation and acceptance, a kind of weary, okay. Yes, I suppose, she hummed. He said, seeing as they might be here a while. Why did you listen to Sarutobi's last request? She was, of course, referring to his promise to stay in Konoha while Tsunade ruled. Because he asked it of me, and I had no reason to say no. She snorted in disbelief. No reason? You needed a reason? No, but at the time I was not ready to leave. She stared at him again and then sighed and pulled the folder from her drawer. I'm over 50 now, you know, she said softly, the oldest Hokage to take the seat and probably the most bitter. Ever since Dan and Nawaki died, I've just been so... I guess I lost is the word. I gave them my everything, and then they died. The only ties I have left to this world are Shizune and Jiraiya. Jiraiya never stays here long, drops in for a day or a week, a year, and vanishes again. He showed up more since I've taken the seat, but he's just as tired of Konoha as I am. Naruto just nodded and waited. She slid the folder forwards. He opened it and peered down at the profile looking back at him. Those are the ninja most loyal to Konoha, the ones who would kill their lovers if I asked it. Please pick out the ones you want to. Well, there are some missions around next month that are quite far from Konoha and need to be filled. Naruto smirked and flipped through the top secret profiles of all the most loyal ninja in Konoha. When he was done, the stack was quite small, no more than a few papers. The civilians? She asked softly. Civilians? He asked mockingly. I don't know any of them. I'm a ninja. She sighed and looked her age briefly. She pulled out a bottle of sake and poured some in a saucer, offering it to him. He took it and sipped the liquor as she drank straight from the bottle. I'm retiring, she said softly. I've already named my successor. She glanced at him and saw his smirk. Danzo shall make a good Hokage, he said. for whatever length his reign is. She shook her head softly and chugged more sake. I shall retire on October the 7th. Seven's a lucky number. And you shall leave Konoha? Yes, I hear the new village in the country of snow/springs is a sight to see, and Kumo will keep its doors open to Konoha. Perhaps, Kumo, she said. Actually, that would be a good idea, he said innocently. You see, I was hoping to pay a ninja to give my wife an escort to Kumo. She wishes to visit her father. She looked at him and gave a slight smile. The world weariness had not left, but the smile softness, the stress lands away. He found it horribly ironic. The leader of the village was talking so calmly of his plans with him, agreeing, or perhaps just accepting. Depends on how much you're paying, Gaki. End of chapter 28.